My name is Christine Dyckman, and I welcome you. I welcome you to Monmouth County Workforce Development Office and our Zoom call today with Lynne Williams. She's going to speak to us about resumes, resume setup, and the bare essentials of what you need to do for 2022. Because guess what, guys? It is way different than it used to be. So what I do is walk a line between helping job seekers to land and helping businesses to thrive in this economy. So part of that process is helping you, the job seeker, to land, but educating you so that you know the right way and the not so right way to be able to move forward and land in a job that you actually like to have. So that is the goal. We are recording this session. I will send to you by the end of the day, hopefully, if Zoom cooperates, the URL for a replay of this session, and also all of the links that are going to be included from Lynne. And she's going to she's going to refer to a few things, and that's going to help you as you are planning out your resume, or maybe modifying what you already have. So Lynne is working on her doctorate. Lynne is all over the place. She is a LinkedIn expert. She knows job search inside and out and upside and down and even diagonally. Like, she is just the master. And honestly, she's not that far. She's only in Philly. We have met IRL in real life before COVID, and we are hoping to do that again in the next couple of months. Post-COVID. But in the meantime, we do connect with each other and share information so that we're both in the know of what's going on and what people are talking about. So Lynne is that expert that I do rely on, and I'm here to present her to you today to share with all of us how to make that wonderful resume. So take it away, Lynne. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me back again. I'm delighted to be here. And what I'm going to do is share my screen right now. I'm going to share my whole screen, and then I'm going to make the Zoom part go very small. All right. And I did send Christine a resume template document and a couple links, and then she will follow up with you with that later.
Yes, I
so
will.
The first thing I want to do is show what I look like on LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out and connect with me. Now, a lot of what I want to talk about is in some carousel slide decks that I created. I realized I only had an hour today, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have so much to say in an hour. How am I going to do this efficiently and allow for questions? So here's what I did. If you go to my LinkedIn profile and you scroll down to show all activity, and then you click on documents, then you will come up with documents, but I've got mine already ready, going from the bottom up to the most current. And right now I have 14 sets of resume strategies for 2023. And I have another one that I thought I could do, but I haven't created it yet. I'm not sure if it's going to go out today. It may not go out till another day or two, because Christine's right. I am very busy. I got a pretty busy day today. So resume strategies part 1, sections to add to your resume. So what I thought I would do is just pull up a Google Doc. This is typically what I use with my clients. And not all sections are going to be appropriate for you. Okay. It depends on, your years of experience versus a fresh college graduate and whatnot. But basically, sections of a resume. You've got your header up at the top. You've got a headline, kind of like LinkedIn. Some people have the words profile summary at the top. Honestly, I think that's a wasted line. Do you want to be a profile summary when you grow up? I think not. So tell them if you are in accounting, IT, HR, marketing, etc. Then you want to put a paragraph of who you are in here, maybe 3 to 5 sentences or so. And don't start with fluffy adjectives. Get right to the point. Account executive, certified retirement account manager, or something like that. Tell us what it is that you do, and then get into the rest of the 3 to 5 sentences. Now, the next section is I normally put as core competencies. And the reason I do this, and I put them in alphabetical order, and it's because you want people to skim and scan your resume, because you've probably heard it's like 6 to 15 seconds or so that people look at your resume, humans look at your resume, and they'll decide, do you go in pile A? Yes, I want to read more. Pile B, maybe, depends on how many A's I get. And pile C, no go. So
Garbage can.
yes, that definitely does happen. So
Lynn,
if you
can I interrupt for 1 second and
Sure,
ask
yeah.
you? I have heard those core competencies. I've heard some people say ABC order is the way to go, and I've heard others say the length of the word would go first, so it's a descending order, so the shortest at the end and the longest at the first top.
So to
What do
me,
you
core
think of that?
competencies are keywords. Keywords
Okay.
are generally 1, 2, or 3 words. They're
Okay,
not
thank
whole
you.
phrases. And if you put them in alphabetical order, I'm a former K-12 teacher, so I tend towards logic. I used to teach math. So, logic, alphabetical order makes sense to me. If I was a hiring manager and I'm looking at somebody's resume and I'm looking at their list, if it's in alphabetical order, there's a logic there, and I'm going to quickly process in my head must-haves, nice to haves. Oh, and she or he also has. So that's why I like the alphabetical order. So more about that later. Now, if you're fresh out of college, you're not going to have career highlights. But if you're not fresh out of college, you can have buckets, what I'll call them, buckets, special sweet spots that you can bold, and then you can give your accomplishment, after that. So you might want to write it in the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. Anything you can put in your resume that is quantifiable is a good thing. But not everything's going to be quantifiable.
Lynn, let me ask you,
Sure.
I have also seen people that they have a resume formatted and it's not necessarily using a STAR format or quantifiable, or the common word we all hear is accomplishments. It's just, what we've done, hired so many people and are hired people or responsible for onboarding or whatever. Is there a difference in hiring or whether you get looked at by the words that you're using in your resume or how it's laid out, those bullets?
Yeah, that's like a bigger picture.
Oh gosh, I'm way ahead of
topic.
you. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. This is basically if you have any metrics, if you have dollars, if you have percentages or numbers to weave in where you showed how you help the company make money, save time, that's a great thing. But not everything can be quantifiable. Maybe
Right.
you can explain how you helped improved a process or something, you did something to make something better or
Right.
save the company, something. So sometimes you have NDAs that you sign and you can't share numbers. I've had plenty of clients who can't share their numbers, and so they can take a baseline and they can say a percent. Okay, so you never know, you're not disclosing that confidential information about
Yes.
what the baseline dollar is, but you increased it, 46% year over year, over a 3-year period or whatever it may be. Now, the next section, because we're talking about sections, is professional experience. You could call it experience, you could call it work experience. They're all synonyms basically. I'm going to get up on talk about the setup a little bit later, but right now I'm just talking big picture setup sections. Now, some people who have way over 12 to 15 years of experience, and they haven't been at a particular company for 20, 25, 30 years, but they've had lots of other jobs and companies that they've worked for. They might want to put in past experience with just the company, city, state, title, maybe the date, maybe not the date. Then, you could have a section for education and certifications or licenses. You could have a separate section for certifications, separate section for licenses. Everybody's individual. So this is just like a basic generic, let's get set up kind of thing.
I see that you have a lot of different sections, but the sections look a lot like LinkedIn.
Oh, how about that? It's amazing that you picked that up. Yes. So LinkedIn now has over 875 million people on the platform. So you have to think of LinkedIn as the gold standard. Now, I do vary a tiny little bit, like in that career highlight section and core competencies. LinkedIn calls core competency skills, and they don't really have enough career highlights. You might consider the about section as a place where you can put career highlights. But the bottom line is, you want to name the sections something along the line of what LinkedIn calls the sections. Okay. However, I'm going to talk about two different kinds of resumes, a pretty resume for humans and a deconstructed resume for bots. So right now, I'm only talking about the pretty resume. Okay. So more on that coming up. Now, if you have a membership in a professional organization, you could include that. Technical skills, I just collect this information from clients. I typically don't put it on a resume, especially if they have a really big, long laundry list. But I do collect them because that can go in LinkedIn, maybe in the About section. And then volunteer work. So those are big picture considerations for sections. So now the next part is of my resume strategies. You'll see that I've got a lot of commentary before these decks, and then you have to click, right on the little arrows here so that you can do a lot of reading and absorbing and referring to your resume as you're looking at all this. So let's talk about the resume headline versus the LinkedIn headline. So I already told you, you don't want to have profile summary at the top. So there is somebody, if I were to go on LinkedIn, and let's go here, and I were to type integrated digital marketing professional, and I put it in quotes, that means that I want to glom all those 4 words together. Did I spell it right? I think I did. Okay. So now I could click on people, but actually people came up. So here's this person. She has integrated digital marketing professional as her title. Well, let's just take that title and maybe that might work for a resume, but I'd put a little bit more in. Okay. And let me go down to a couple notes I have here. Check out headlines.sharethrough.com.
Remember, the whole print screen on your keyboard is in your mouse. And at the end, when I send you a thank you note, that link will be in there as well. So that's going to help you. So you don't have to press the print screen button either.
You don't have to, because I'm going to put
Yep.
a link in for the article I wrote that has this whole example blown up. But I just wanted to show you this. So I'm going to click on Find Out. You want to think of this headline analyzer as a traffic light: red, yellow, green. You want green. Right now, she's got red overall score. She's got yellow for engagement score, and she has a really low impression score. So how do you deal with this? Well, let me take you to another part of my LinkedIn profile. And I would love for you to subscribe to my weekly newsletter. It's always in my featured section. So here is how do you do a career pivot on LinkedIn. But if you again go to all activity, you'll get to subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll see lots of other newsletters. So it's
And if
under
you're looking
articles.
for some information that's really good, I don't bring in speakers that I don't believe in. Where do I get a lot of my information from? Lynn. So I highly recommend that you subscribe to her newsletter as well, just so you can keep up to date with what's going on and what the trends are for resume, job search, LinkedIn, all that good stuff, and the different events and guest speakers that she is also hosting. It's definitely worth your time, and it won't clog up your inbox. Sorry, Lynn.
No worries. So I'm going to scroll down to this one particular article that has that share through in, as well as the examples. So if you scroll down to this newspaper cover, it says how to boost your LinkedIn headline. So I'm going to click on that. And here's my example: integrated digital marketing professional. Well, let's talk about this. If we take this on the road and I were to ramp it up with other keywords of her specialties, and then I were to create a memorable USP, unique selling proposition. Look at this. She's telling me in her LinkedIn profile that she does conversions and engagement for her clients, but she's not doing it for herself on her LinkedIn headline. So are you going to remember the spelling of her name? It was a little tricky, right? I don't remember how to spell it. So if you have a spelling of a name that might be a little bit different, how are you going to make yourself memorable? So here we go. Better than hot buttery popcorn at the movies. Let's click this.
Can we steal that? I want to steal that. I like that.
So let's analyze this again. And look, now I get an 80 and a 65 and 100 impression score, right? So you just have to think about, how do you want to be remembered? All right, so how do you subscribe to this newsletter? See, it says career news till today and this little light bulb. So you just click on that, or and then you can hit subscribe. Okay. So I put this out every week because I do write for 4 online news magazines, and it goes out there, as well as I put it on LinkedIn, and I put it on our nonprofit website. So you're not going to use the hot buttery popcorn part on the top of your resume, but you can certainly add, all these other words that I've highlighted: integrated digital marketing professional, should be space, pipe, space, social media, email marketing, SEM, SEO, web services, graphic designer, Google Analytics.
Does that have to be in alphabetical order as well?
No, that does not have to be in alphabetical order. Now, you actually want to front load with the first 60-ish characters if you're going to take any parts of this and create something called a meta tag for any of your pictures or your banner on your LinkedIn profile. Lynn, what's a meta tag? I knew you were
talking about
that.
Like a foreign language. I'm thinking like maybe it's Farsi or something. I have no idea what that means.
All right, so you all know what Google means, right? Or Google is, and Google indexes the first 60-ish characters. Like, I build stuff into websites, so I take a lot of my knowledge about keywords and beating the bots and whatnot. It's just marketing language, but it's about using keywords, focus words, meta descriptions, etc. So if you go to the nonprofit website, greatcareers.org, you're going to type in meta tag. Now, I probably need to update this article, but how to create a meta tag for your LinkedIn media, because I wrote this in June of 2019 before I discovered something else in talking with another career coach. So basically, if I were to click on this, I think I have an example here. So here's step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm an instructor, so I give a lot of step-by-step things here in the full in my stuff. So here, Lynne Williams, resume, LinkedIn, before the .jpeg. You actually don't want to put your name first. You want to put your name as the last part of the 60-ish characters. So why am I saying 60-ish? Why don't I give you an exact number? And it's because of how wide the characters are, the pixels. So an I and an L are very skinny, right? And then you have an N, which has 1 hump. You have an M that has 2 humps. So that's a wider pixel. The M is twice as wide as an N, and the N is wider than an I or an L. So
we're
that's
getting
why,
like website instruction here too. Wow,
yeah,
this is pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
talking you're talking about resumes, and my goodness, we're learning so much. I'm
well,
learning a lot. I don't know.
resume, people just don't realize how much the resume and the LinkedIn need to tie together. Okay.
Oh, okay.
To me, I'm not sure how somebody can just do a LinkedIn profile without doing a resume in conjunction with it.
Well, let
If
me
you're a
ask
job
you, Lynn,
seeker.
a lot
Mhm.
of people that are new to job seeking say, can I just put my resume on my LinkedIn profile?
Well, yes, but LinkedIn is more than your resume. But if you haven't taken the time to really research the right keywords to get it nailed down for a base resume, because you want to take a good foundation, your good base resume that you've spent a lot of time on, and you want to be able to save that and tailor it to each and every job description that you apply to. Okay. And if it's set up in this nice little format here, it's actually very easy to deconstruct. Okay, you don't want a highly formatted resume. All right, so let me go back to the deck here. So we talked a little bit about headlines. Now let's go to part 3, your summary profile. So here's this paragraph of 3 to 5 sentences, and you want to make sure that you're not using pronouns like I, but you want to make it first person implied I. So you don't say I'm an employee benefits attorney. You just start saying employee benefits attorney. And you don't want to start with fluffy adjectives like results oriented, action packed employee benefits attorney. No, that's not what we're doing. That distracts with those fluffy adjectives. Just tell them what you want to be when you grow up. First words,
We
and
have a question in the chat box going along with exactly what you're saying.
yeah.
Do you have, by any chance, you've given us an outline of what to do in the sections? Do you have an example of a really good resume and a really bad resume so that our viewers can see side by side what to do and what not to do, so to speak? Or no?
No, I'm not pulling up any
Okay,
specific
that's fine.
examples. I'm only going to do
Okay.
big picture things.
Okay.
If you want to contact me, offline, I'll
Okay.
show you how to find that
Perfect.
information. All
No
right.
problem. Thank you.
So the other thing that people do a lot is they say somebody with 19 years experience. No, you don't want to do that, because you're asking for to put out the little ageism card. You always want to use with extensive experience, or with expertise in, or extensive expertise in. So don't put the number of years. And then the other thing is, we have issues sometimes with verbs, was blah, 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 and manages, blah, 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 and collaborates, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Manages and collaborates goes with he, she, third person singular. Would you say I manages, I collaborates? No, you wouldn't say that. You would say I collaborate, I manage. That's what I mean by first person implied I. So take all those S's out of the verbs if they are in the present tense. All right.
We talked about what you're showing being we talked about different resumes. There's the one that you hand a person or send through email. It's pretty and decorative.
Yep.
And then we talked about, we didn't really touch on it yet, the ATS and applying online, and it's more of a plain. Are you going to go over that as well? And maybe show us the
we are
differences?
approaching part 4, and the ATS is part 14. So
Awesome.
moving along.
Sorry, thank you. That was in the
No
chat
worries.
box. So.
All right. So core competencies on your resume. You want to, again, I put them in alphabetical order, and I believe they should be researched. Now, there is a difference when you go in LinkedIn between budget, budgets, and budgeting. Well, you need to use the best version of that word on LinkedIn, but you can use that best version also in your base resume. But let's say it's budget. Well, if the job description says budgeting, all you have to do is type ing at the end. Or if you decide you wanted to use budgeting on your resume and it says budgets in the job description, well, you just can the ing and you add the S. So you want to kind of go with the flow so you get that matchy.
So
Now,
if the job description has past tense verbs, then we use past tense verbs, or if how does that work?
It's not necessarily the verbs, it's more the nouns, the hard skills and whatnot.
Okay.
But if you have a present job, you will be writing in the present tense. But if you completed a project, it would be in the past tense for your present job. All the rest of the jobs would start with a verb in the past tense. That's coming up though. So let's focus on career highlights now. So you can have whatever bucket makes sense for you. And you could have, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, of them. You don't want it too much. But this is like a hybrid part of a resume that I typically deal with people that have some experience under their belt. So maybe you are a tactical visionary, or maybe your people performance, or whatever it is you are. You customize the bucket and your sweet spot, and then you can put it in sentence form, so to speak. Well, it's a bullet point afterwards. But I bold the first words to make them stand out a little bit more for the human resume.
Just the first words or any other words?
Just the bucket I want to bring them attention to, because here I have my core competencies, my career, my keywords.
Right.
But I need to explain some of my sweet spots. It's not just the word, but it's the metrics, the accomplishments, the achievements that go along with it. Like, what am I really good at? And you can pull these career highlights from all your different career opportunities that you've had and work experiences from the past. So it's not just one particular job.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about professional experience. You need to make sure you put the company name, comma, city, comma, 2-character state, and then you want to tab over and put the date, and underneath you want to put the title, and then you could either put a sentence or whatever. Some people have sentences about what their job was or what the company does before their bullet points. I will go either way, if somebody has that and they want to keep that, or I'll just change it to a bullet point if it makes sense, if it's something they did. but you don't want to have your professional experience start with responsible for. No, you want to start it with a verb. And these are not sentences, these are bullet points. So you do not need to end them with a period, and you shouldn't have sort of two thoughts together. It should just be another bullet point if you're going to start another sentence. So that's why you don't need bullet points. Now, why? Because you can easily copy and paste, not from the Google Doc, but you can easily copy and paste from a Word document where the bullet points are smaller, and paste that into your LinkedIn profile. So you have bullet white space. So it's skimmable and scannable by the human eye. Now, how many bullet points do you want? Well, not too many. You don't want 40 or anything like that. Sometimes you only may have one or two, but a good half a dozen, 5, 6 might be an appropriate amount of bullets to put underneath. Now we're going to talk about honors and awards. So if you've received honors and awards and honors, those kind of can be interchangeable. You definitely want to add those to a resume. And there's a whole bunch of goodness in this little deck here as to what those might be. Next thing, education. I already mentioned you can have certifications separate. You could have professional development separate. You could have licenses separate. But you want to make sure that the latest and greatest educational accomplishment is on top. So if you've done a lot of certificates or licenses, and it's all happened after a bachelor's degree, then the bachelor's degree is going to be at the bottom. Okay. And so you want the most current on top. So it's reverse chronological order. Next thing is I've got tips for formatting resume. And let's see. I think I'm gonna move over this one and ask you to refer to the deck because I want to talk about some other things that are more important, and I'm watching the time here. Grammar on your resume. Okay, here we go. Lynne's pet peeves. Again, I don't put periods at the end of the bullet points because they're not sentences, but here's a big one. I am an academic writer. I am working on my doctoral dissertation on the topic of LinkedIn for job seekers, and I am all about the Oxford comma. So what does that mean? Apples, comma, bananas, comma, and oranges. So if you are in marketing and you write AP newsletters, you don't use an Oxford comma. That Oxford comma is the second comma before the word and. So that's one thing you definitely want to make sure you have consistency on your resume. I believe even the AP marketing people should use Oxford commas on a resume because it's not a news piece. It is, it's a resume.
I say that
Now,
all the time, Lynn. How you write a resume is way different than a newspaper article, which is way different than a magazine article, which is way different than a term paper, and they all have their own.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing, grammar, well, it's actually more punctuation, is you need to know what the difference is between an N-EN and an M-EM. So people normally put dates in, and then they'll hit enter in a Word document, and it'll turn that dash longer. The longer dash, think about an M is 2 humps. That's the longer dash. So the shorter one is the N dash. Now I go back and I normally go right after that dash, I backspace, and then I put the dash in again. So it's consistent with all the little N dashes. Now, there are reasons why you want to use an M dash versus an N dash grammatically, but I don't buy it on a LinkedIn or on a resume. I stick with just the N dash. But if you want to Go read your grammar lesson for today. Go Google N dashes and M dashes, and you'll find something from Grammar Girl and lots of other people. Now, another thing we face is gaps in resumes. So people might have had to take off for elder care, and maybe estate matters, family medical issues. And if it's a medical issue for yourself, you just want to say family medical issue that you've needed to take off. You don't want to bring that attention to yourself. Maybe you took it off for education. I had one client, he says, oh yeah, my wife got a big bonus and we took off for 2 years so we could go travel the world. So, we did it because we could. I'm like, yay, well, good for you. So there's all different kinds of reasons. And you normally use the word sabbatical. You can, put whatever you want, but, the more sort of generic that you make it and not get too particular, at least it fills the void. And that might stop questions, or it might create questions during an interview. LinkedIn does have the career break feature, but you need to be careful which one you choose for that. If you put down mental health and well-being or something like that, I don't know. I think I would choose a different one. If you got laid off during the pandemic, like 40 other million people did, okay, well, we all know what happened. I mean, it's kind of a weird world in the past couple, 2.5 years. So that's understandable, why you had a career break. You were downsized, right? So you have to have a story to go along with it. But
Should
typically
you
on a
put that on the
resume,
resume, that story, like you were downsized, or let them
yeah, why not?
assume, or
Yeah,
maybe it'll be a difference between a phone call or a non-phone call. I'm not
exactly.
sure.
If you communicate clearly, you were downsized due to the pandemic. People say, oh yeah, there were 40 million people that were,
Yeah.
in April 2020. So it's like, understandable. It's not like you got fired or something like that.
Okay.
So moving on, add keywords, not buzzwords, to your resume. So there's a HubSpot article that I mentioned in this little deck, and you don't want to use some of the buzzwords. Again, those are those fluffy adjective kind of things, but there's actually some words in the HubSpot article that I would honestly treat as keywords or job titles. So I think you have to take it and sort it out so that it makes sense for you. But I'm going to do a quick little demo on keywords. So if I
Some
go,
questions in the chat box when you get a moment, because I know that you're trying to squeeze a lot in to
yes,
our
I am.
limited time.
Yeah. All right. So first, let me go to the jobs tab, and I'm going to do my standard example. For those of you who are groupies of me, I'm sorry. This is my standard example. I like it. So I'm going to put in project manager, and I'm going to do New York City metropolitan area since you're in New Jersey. So you want to choose the metropolitan area, not the city that you're in. What is the closest major metropolitan area to you? So here, if you look at the top left, it says 27,978 jobs. Well, do you want to use that, or do you want to use project management, which has 71,677 results as of today? And yeah, it does change every day, probably, potentially every hour. I don't know.
It's
I don't know
still a
when
lot.
things upload. It's a big, huge difference.
Yeah.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and look those words up on Google Trends. So trends.google.com. So I'm on my right screen here, and I just want to show you what people are searching on Google. Are they searching for project manager? Or let's compare it to project management. So you can see that the red bar chart and the red line chart shows that in the past 12 months in the United States, project management was searched more than project manager. But we want to get down to the brass tacks here with where you live. So let's now go New York. And do we want the New Jersey side or the New York side? Let's just put the New York side. And now we've got the past 12 months. It's still true to form. Project management's better, but let's go the last 90 days. Still better. So when I work with people on their keywords for resumes, the keyword is basically for the resume, for a good solid base resume, but it's also for LinkedIn. You don't know what you don't know unless you do the research and do data-driven decision making. So
I
hopefully,
love that. I don't think anyone in my time here has addressed that. And I appreciate you sharing that, Lynn, because that is a really big deal. And again, you don't know what you don't know. That is so true.
yeah. So if you look up budgets and budgeting, you'll find the same situation where you don't know what the best form of the word is to use on LinkedIn. And typically I would use that on a base resume, but it's easy to flip out when you have the words in alphabetical order like this, right? Okay. So next thing is, I want to talk about considerations for your resume. There's a whole bunch of different things that may affect different people in different ways. And I'm actually going to write a part 15 soon. I hope to do it last night, but my eyes were slamming
15,
shut.
wait a minute.
Yeah. So I was thinking about some other scenarios that I could have added for special circumstances on a resume, like somebody who is in academia, they're not writing a corporate resume. There are institutions, let's say Drexel University, Kutztown University, they have a very specific way that they want people to submit their CVs if they are faculty. And that's totally different than if somebody was working in the accounting department. So, you have to understand that, different industries have their own ways of doing things. So let's get to the ATS one. So there are 19 tips in here about the ATS, and there's some good commentary that people included down in the bottom in the comments under this deck. And as I say, these don't go away in the feed. This will always be here in my LinkedIn profile. So those of you who came in late, let me just show you where to go. So if you go on my profile and you go down to show all activity, and then you click on documents, they're all there. And as long as my LinkedIn profile doesn't blow up or anything, you'll see all these 14 so far slide decks here. Now,
and the reason that she's showing you all of this, because we have an hour today to talk with you, and we could both talk to you for over 40 hours just on resume and LinkedIn, because there's just so much nuances and answering questions and that kind of thing. So it's not that we're trying to blow you off, it's just that we're trying to get everything in to jumpstart you to get you to that point. So if we didn't address your question, it's not because we don't love you or, please don't take it personal. It's just that those pieces of information are definitely answered in what Lynn has created in those comments. So you can also learn from other people as well as Lynn and her commentary and her articles.
So I'm just gonna show you a couple more things, and then I'm gonna leave the rest of the time open for questions. So right here in my LinkedIn profile, right underneath here, you see this Linktree link. Okay. So if you click on that, this is a very important link. All right. And there's lots of juicy stuff and good stuff in here. The first link will take you to the Linktree of the Great Careers Group. I'll show you that in a minute, but here's my upcoming speaking events. And I do these 19 tips for the applicant tracking system with demos and whatnot. So I do have partial schedule of 2023 coming, and I only have a few presentations left for the rest of this year. Let me go back here. So here's my publications. I don't think I've updated it since August. Yeah, no, October. Okay, that's not too bad. But I've written probably close to 200 articles. So, you know, you go to the website and you put any keywords in the top right, you will probably find an article on it. If you want to book a call to chat, happy to do that. And it's only 15 minutes, but I can always add on time if I have it, and I can always add a Zoom link after the fact. I also am involved in Chem Pharma, and I do support veterans through the Delaware Valley Veterans Consortium. I'm a SCORE volunteer, and our organization was the #1 business networking association in the greater Philadelphia area the past 2 years. I just submitted it for again, so we'll see what happens. Now, let me click on
I
this
wonder why
first
you're
one.
so busy there, Lynn. Look at that. I wonder why.
So this is the first link of the Linktree will take you to the great career stuff. So here's our website home. Here's all our events. We have a small membership fee, my blogs, social media, and here's free LinkedIn workshops. So let me just click on that for a hot minute. Every third Saturday of the month, I teach a 3-hour LinkedIn workshop. It is not recorded. It is live. And I've been doing this for over 9 years, and it's absolutely free. 9 hours of free LinkedIn training. So this Saturday is part 3 of 3, and then in December is part 1 of 3, January is part 2 of 3. They don't have the schedule up for 2023. But we also have, let me go to the events page, and we have Les Zagarnik, who does an interview workshop first, third, fifth Friday of the month. And if you attend in person on Zoom, he will do a free mock interview with you. You can't beat that. So I just want to show you.
Guy. You should go, guys. I've been to all of these things. He's a very nice man, and he knows so much. And asking questions about gaps on your resume or real life or health issues or support or getting fired, or he can answer all of those things. He's a wonderful human being that's always paying it forward. So thank you for sharing that, Lynn.
Yeah, and we have an LGBTQ career group run by Paul Sakala. Yes. And this Thursday we have the career portfolio, and it's free. We do a lot for free. We can't do everything for free. But if you go to the bottom of the events page, here is all the goodies, you know, that we have to offer. And again, there is really a lot for free. So that's my commercial, so that you know what's available. And the contact information, you'll find all of our social media platforms. All right, that was a whirlwind. What questions? Let me have them. I'm ready.
So you can get like this speed answering all these questions. I will send everyone a copy of the chat box, so that if you do want to connect with somebody who provided their LinkedIn address, you can do so. You can see other people's questions and maybe reach out to them through LinkedIn and get, offer to answer them or help them out. Definitely make connections, and Lynn will have that as well. As I had mentioned several times, you will receive an email from me later today with the URL to the recording of this session, as well as the URLs for everything that Lynn had mentioned earlier. So you can go online at your convenience, take your time, and look through all of the wonderful information for you and your job search. And okay, so the first question I have for you from the chat box. Somebody that has extensive experience in one field wants to make a change to something else. How do you create a resume so a prospective employer will even consider them, even though they don't have necessarily that experience?
Excellent question. And I actually happen to address that. If you go to the featured section, how do you do a career pivot on LinkedIn as a veteran, return to work, reinvention in a new industry? So same thing on a resume. You have to position yourself and all your keywords with your future forward. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past, but you're marketing you, you're selling you. So it's all about, positioning yourself. And I'm just going to pull up, an example because this, I think we do need an example of. I'm going to go to Jim Lowry. Jim was in the military for 30 years, and then he wanted to retire out of the military to a corporate job. So here is an example of Marine Corps colonel transitioning to the corporate sector with extensive leadership experience in blah, blah, blah. So he's telling people in his first sentence, that he is transitioning to, right? So everybody's going to have their own way of saying that. But if you clearly don't have any expertise or experience in a particular field, you have to put it somewhere so that people know, well, this isn't coming out of the blue. Why do you want to do what you want to do? Now, this particular case, you've got core competencies here. See the alphabetical order? They're all keywords, okay? So these are not military ease. This is civilian ease keywords. So that's just an example. Hopefully I answered that question.
Resume, do you prefer that they use the numbers for the dates, such as 05/01 to 05/05, or do you think they should spell out the month and the year, or what is your feeling on that?
Classic answer. It depends. So,
I love that word.
Typically for a pretty resume, I didn't talk about a pretty resume, would be the shaded blue lines, one that I use. And I will either keep the 01 to present or, whatever, or I would just put the years to present. Now, on the deconstructed resume for the bots, it should be Arial 12-point font, no formatting whatsoever.
What do you mean when you say bots?
A bot's like the applicant tracking system that's going
What's
to
that?
be, it's where you're going to be uploading your resume for an online application. So there's two words you need to know: upload and attach. When you see the word upload at the beginning of an application and it's a big company, dimes to donuts, it's going to be an applicant tracking system, and there's over 200 of them. And you never know which one you're going to get. Some are more sophisticated than others.
263 as of 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh,
did you know?
Send me that link. That's fascinating. Wow.
Yes. Yeah, it's scary. It's scary. There's a lot.
So if you go
to the third page for anything, it's crazy.
Okay. So if you go to, again, greatcareers.org, you'll find this article that has those little 19 tips of how to best format your resume. Basically, your resume is going to have solid black bullet points, and everything else is going to be Arial 12-point font. But typically, applicant tracking systems, they want months and years, which is why I do this particular formatting. visually, if you write the word out January, which has how many letters, versus May, which has 3, it doesn't look good, in my humble opinion. I like a visually appealing resume where you tab over to let's say the 6 or 6.5 mark, and all the dates are aligned there on the right.
I
Now,
agree.
when you are doing a resume in Word, you know that little backwards P thing, and you can look at the back end of the document. The back end needs to be as clean, squeaky clean as the front end. And a lot of people will look at the back end to see, how is your formatting? Do you know how to use a tab button, right? Do you have section breaks that might not be read by the applicant tracking system? Meaning, do you have headers, footers, tables? So, there's different things that I do to move things around and tweak things from a pretty resume to a deconstructed resume.
So at what
So,
age do you think that dates, whether it's college graduation or prior work experience, when do those dates work against you? Like, is there a time like, hey, I'm 52 years old and now I need to stop putting dates on my resume, or 27, or does it matter? Like, I'm
it's
not
a
really
great
sure.
question. If you go to
Don't say it depends.
no, I won't. If you go to eeoc.gov, okay, that's Equal Employment Opportunity, you will see that age 40 is when age discrimination apparently starts.
Yes.
So, I'm a boomer, and I graduated high school in 76 and I graduated college in 1980, and I don't care. I am who I am. So it depends on, what you want to do personally. I can't change who I am. I can change my hair color, and I have, and I do, but I'm putting it out there exactly when I had my graduations, because I'm coming with a huge amount of business acumen between, the world of education, the nonprofit world, self-employment entrepreneurship world, and the corporate world. So I can, bring a lot to the table with that. I haven't worked for government, but can't say that that's not a never. You never know. So, it depends. Not every single company wants a fresher, out of college. They want somebody that has experience. So you never ever say that, go along with, oh, you're overqualified. I'm sticking with Abby Kohut, and she says, you are absolutely qualified. I love that expression. So you can say, hey, I can onboard quickly. I know this job. I just got to learn your software and ways of doing things here at the company. But I can mentor hypos and young professionals. I can help with succession planning. And, I know what to do. I can, do this with my eyes closed. I'm not interested in climbing the corporate ladder now. Been there, done that. I'm more interested in the mentoring aspect. So I'm not overqualified. I am absolutely qualified.
I love that. Thank you, Abby. She's another awesome career counselor, career coach, and I would definitely check out what she has to say in every respect too, because she's an inspiration to many of us. So, all right. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. And Lynn has to go because she's off to her next engagement. But I do appreciate you attending today. Again, I will send that email to you later on with the URL for today's recording, as well as the chat box and all the URLs that Lynn has shared with us, and you'll have the information. So definitely check it out. Take time and see what you can change, maybe even not change. It just confirms what you've been doing is right all along. So I appreciate it. Thanks, Lynn.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Thanks for everybody for coming. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the sunshine. All right. Take care.